Hi there, this is Stacie Ysidro from Holistic Progressions, and I would like to thank you for liking my videos and subscribing to my channel. And I'd also like to say hello and welcome my new followers that found me through my friend and fellow coach's channel, Caitlin V. So I'm glad you guys enjoyed our live video product review. Welcome and welcome to the journey. So today, it's the evening. It's getting dark way too early. There's been a theme that often comes up, and I'm like, oh, I totally need to do a video about this. So I wrote a little bit, and I'm going to just follow it to try to keep myself on track here. The point of it is that our arousal is our own responsibility. So I will repeat that. Your arousal is your responsibility. And this is manifested in many different ways. Everyone is wired for pleasure a little bit differently. You receive pleasure and experience arousal differently just according to who you are, your experiences, your body, on and on. I actually am certified to facilitate a course called the Erotic Blueprint course that's created by Jaya. And the Blueprint course is actually an arousal typing system. So the blueprints teach you to identify your own blueprint and your partner's, but basically get to know your turn on and your arousal so that you can dive deeper into that. So if you want to know more about that program, please send me an email at holisticprogressions.com. We're going to move this over here. So with that being said, for example, some people experience arousal through direct genital contact, nudity. It would be your cultural norm, so to speak. And we call that blueprint the sexual blueprint. Some people find energy and the space between where their arousal lives. It's more about the vibe of the situation and lighter touch. And we call that one the energetic blueprint. There's also one called sensual, which is really into the textures. Like I have my fuzzy robe here behind me. It's about the environment. It's also about smells and textures and tastes. And that one is sensual. And there is one called kink, and that could be any type of extreme body sensations that you find arousing, or it could be power play dynamics and more of a psychological based kink. So there's kink, and then of course there's shapeshifter, which is a little bit of everything. Welcome to my world. I am a shapeshifter. It's really cool because you can actually start to see how someone experiences arousal and pleasure through the way that they talk, the words that they use, the way that they use their body when they speak or not. So the Blueprint course is an amazing program. So again, if you have questions about that, let me know. So the point of this is that we all experience arousal and pleasure differently, right? And again, the point of this video is that your arousal and pleasure is your responsibility, right? And my second thing I have to say about that is that it's your decision what you want to do with your arousal and pleasure, okay? So this comes up sometimes, and it's kind of like a nerve for me, right? So people will say stuff like, you need to cover your breasts, or you need to wear more undergarments because your nipples show through. Well, guess what? That's just the way they are. Okay, so that's too bad. That's the way they are. Or you can't hug somebody that way because not everybody has good intentions. And they just want to they're sexualizing you hugging them. And I'm like, that's such bullshit, okay? Don't tell me that I need to change who I am and be ashamed of my body because somebody else finds it arousing, right? If they find that arousing, good for them. That's great and a nice time. Okay. What they choose to do with that arousal is their decision. Okay. Some people find feet arousing, or shoulders arousing, or stockings arousing. So does that mean that everybody needs to wear boots now because somebody finds feet arousing? So everybody needs to cover themselves? Well, what if somebody finds boots arousing? Well, now nobody's allowed to wear boots? Like, are you kidding me? Like, this is ridiculous. I think we need to stop shaming and judging our arousal and pleasure, and stop putting the power of our arousal and pleasure in other people's hands. Okay, well, they're not turning me on. Well, what does turn you on? Are you giving your power away and making it somebody else's responsibility to give you arousal and pleasure? Like, what sense does this make? I find people are constantly giving away their power. Oh, well, she has a great ass. So, that's arousing to me, and she's doing this to me. And it's complete nonsense. Nobody's doing anything to you by simply just being. Now, I'm not talking about situations where there's intent to arouse and give pleasure and turn on, right? So there's a time and a place for this stuff. My main point is that we need to assume responsibility and take our power back. If you find something arousing, that's awesome. Enjoy the turn on, enjoy the pleasure, and you decide what you want to do with that. Just because you think someone has nice boobs, do you run up to them and grab them? Usually not. If it's not a consensual situation, then yeah, that could be dangerous or it could cause harm. So it's, what are we going to do with our arousal? Just because you find someone attractive or arousing doesn't mean that you need to go and start projecting all of your arousal and turn on onto them. Especially if their intention is not to arouse you. If someone's simply being and you find them arousing and pleasurable, then that's great. But that's not a justification for you saying, I want to do XYZ to your body. You're doing this to me. You're turning me on, and I want blah, 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 or you should get on your knees and da, 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 da. Like, it's an inappropriate placement for projecting your arousal and pleasure onto someone. So there's a time and a place for that, right? Which is great. And sometimes you can find ways to let someone know that you do find them arousing and it's pleasurable to look at them, but you can say it in a way that's not giving away your power and that's not being disrespectful and inappropriate to that person. I understand that a lot of men feel like they can't give a woman a compliment because they're afraid it's going to be seen as an assault or seen as an attack or a manipulation. And, that's not necessarily the truth. So it's just something to think about is, how am I communicating my desire? How am I communicating my needs? And what am I doing with my own arousal? What am I doing with my own pleasure? Am I taking responsibility for this? Or am I putting it off and projecting it onto someone else and making it their fault or their responsibility, right? So that's kind of my big deal is, if I don't want to wear a bra, I'm not fucking going to. So deal with it. If you find that arousing, that's on you. Good times, great and a nice time. But that doesn't mean that everybody needs to wear a bra, right? And I'm not wearing a bra right now as a protest to this. It's my little inner rebel going right now. So yeah, man, that kind of like gets me going a little bit, because like I said, what, or no one's allowed to show their feet or something? Like, give me a fucking break. What do you think this is? The other big deal that goes into that is that opposite end of the spectrum. Like, I'm not aroused, my partner's not arousing me. And that's a good place to dive into taking responsibility for your pleasure again, right? Figuring out what does turn you on, what do you like, what don't you like, maybe in different situations or even different times of the month. Especially for women hormonally, we like different things. That's why I love the Blueprint course as well, because it gives you a typing system and language for you to describe and explain and understand your own arousal and turn on so that you really can own it. It gives you permission to release shame and judgment on arousal and pleasure so that you can step fully into that and allow yourself to receive. So that's kind of my big deal rant for today. If you want to know more about my coaching packages that I offer or the Erotic Blueprint course, please send me an email at holisticprogressions@gmail.com. You can also check out my website, holisticprogressions.com. And I have a meetup group called Sacred Space. If you are within the Tampa Bay area or central to West Coast Florida, we do meetups at least once a month that go through a blueprint presentation and demos. And then I also host spiritual circles. So we just had a beautiful circle last night here. Was it last night or the night before? I don't know. At my space here in Apollo Beach, and it's amazing to see people step into their power and transform. And I think that sexuality is one of the most powerful ways that we experience connection with each other and transformation in our lives. It's one of the most strong ways, like the most intense ways that we can get to know ourselves, get to know someone else, and experience vulnerability and connection and some deeper flow of energy from something greater than us. So please don't give your power away, and please don't blame and judge other people for being who they are, right? It's not always someone's intention to be arousing to you. And if you experience that arousal, then own it and love it and breathe it through you, right? Breathe it through and just let it flow through your body and experience the joy and the pleasure of that moment, right? You don't always have to act on your arousal. And you don't need to judge yourself for becoming aroused, and you don't need to shame yourself for becoming aroused. And again, one of my little missions here is to start to release shame and judgment around sexuality and really step into our own divine right to experience arousal and pleasure and love and connection. There's so much more to sexuality beyond procreation or just physically going through the motions. And if you want to know more about that, please reach out to me. I'm happy to offer a consultation call to you. They usually take around 45 minutes, sometimes 30 or up to an hour, depending on the conversation. And I can at least go through and see if we're a good fit to work together and what the best way for us to work together is. I do have some genius zone things I've been experiencing with my in-person work. So if you have questions about that as well, please reach out. And again, please like my videos and subscribe to my channel. If you are new, welcome to the journey. And it is an honor and a blessing to be able to partner with you on this great exploration. So, as we depart, let's all take a deep breath in and let it go and step into our arousal and pleasure and own it and love it. And don't give your power away. It's too special, and you're worth it. So, goddess blessings to everyone, and I will see you sooner than later, hopefully at an online event or an in-person event, or send me an email at holisticprogressions.com for more information. And again, my Facebook is Holistic Progressions, and then I also have an Instagram that is Sex Coach Stacie, Sex Coach _Stacie. So, goddess blessings. Until next time,